All right, we're going to get back on the second part of the S's. I stopped midway because it was just too much. The last session was about almost 50 minutes worth, and I still had a lot more to go. So I broke it up, and this is going to be part two. It might be a couple different parts after this to finish up to get to Z, the end of the alphabet in wastewater terminology. So we're going to start up with splash pad, which is a structure made of concrete or other durable material to protect bare soil from erosion by splashing or falling water. Spoil, excavated material such as soil from the trench of a water main or sewer. Stabilization, conversion to a form that resists change. Organic material is stabilized by bacteria that convert the material to gases and other relatively inert substances. Stabilized organic material generally will not give off obnoxious odors. Stabilized waste, a waste that has been treated or decomposed to the extent that, if discharged or released, its rate and state of decomposition would be such that the waste would not cause a nuisance or odors in the receiving water. Let's go to the next page. Standard solution, a solution in which the exact concentration of a chemical or compound is known. Standardize, there's two things to note on standardize. To standardize something is to compare with the standard. And the first thing to note is in wet chemistry, to find out the exact strength of a solution by comparing it with a standard of known strength. This information is used to adjust the strength by adding more water or more of the substance dissolved. To set up an instrument or device to read a standard. This allows you to adjust the instrument so that it reads accurately or enables you to apply a correction factor to the readings. Stasis, stagnation or inactivity of the life processes within an organism. Stasis, static head, when water is not moving, the vertical distance in feet or meters from a reference point to the water surface is a static head. You can also compare it with dynamic head or dynamic pressure or static pressure. Speaking of the next definition, static pressure. When water is not moving, the vertical distance in feet or meters from a specific point to the water surface is a static head. The static pressure in PSI or kPAs is the static head in feet times 0.433 psi per feet or meters times 9.81 kPams. Stator, that portion of a machine that contains the stationary or non-moving parts that surround the moving parts, the rotor. So this would be something in a motor, the stator. Step feed aeration. Step feed aeration is a modification of the conventional activated sludge process. In step feed aeration, primary effluent enters the aeration tank at several points along the length of the tank, rather than at the beginning of the head of the tank, flowing through the entire tank in a plug flow mode. So step feed is the aeration is introduced at several points along the length of the tank, whereas plug flow, it goes through at the head and ends at the end. So that's what a plug flow mode does versus the step feed aeration. Sterilization. The removal or destruction of all microorganisms, including pathogens and other bacteria, vegetative forms, and spores, is not to be confused with disinfection, because disinfection is the removal of most microorganisms, but sterilization is the removal or the destruction of all of them. So you mainly see on wastewater and or at least on the water treatment side of things, you see disinfections. We don't sterilize in water treatment because it's very expensive to sterilize. You just want to disinfect. And in wastewater, probably the same. You want to remove them all in wastewater. You don't really want any of that stuff in the receiving stream. But yeah, that's the difference between those definitions. A stethoscope is an instrument used to magnify sounds and carry them to the ear. Stop log, a log or board in an outlet box or device used to control the water level in ponds and also the flow from one pond to another pond or system. Storm sewer, a separate pipe, conduit, or an open channel that carries runoff from storms, surface drainage, and street wash, but does not include domestic and industrial waste. Storm sewers are often the recipients of hazardous or toxic substances due to the illegal dumping of hazardous waste or spills caused by accidents involving vehicles transporting these substances. And when you contrast it against the sanitary sewer is sewers that's for businesses, domestic, and industrial places. But storm sewer is just from storm runoff and surface drainage and street wash, and that's a separate sewer. Stripped gases. Gases that are released from a liquid by bubbling air through the liquid or by allowing the liquid to be sprayed or tumble over media. That's how they strip gases from wastewater and water. Stripped odors. Odors that are released from a liquid by bubbling air through the liquid or allowing the liquid to be sprayed or tumble over media. Struvite, a deposit or precipitate of magnesium ammonium phosphate hexahydrate found on the rotating components of centrifuges and centrate discharge lines. Struvite can be formed when anaerobic sludge comes in contact with spinning centrifuge components rich in oxygen in the presence of microbial activity. Struvite can also be formed in digested sludge lines and valves in the presence of oxygen and microbial activity. Struvite can form when the pH level is between 5 and 9. Stuck digester. A stuck digester does not decompose organic matter properly. The digester is characterized by low gas production, high volatile acid and alkalinity relationship, poor liquid-solid separation. A digester in a stuck condition is sometimes called a sour or upset digester. Substrate. And there's two things to note about a substrate. A substrate is the base on which an organism lives. The soil is the substrate of most seed plants, rocks, soil, water, and other plants or animals are substrates from other organisms. Chemical used by an organism to support growth. The organic matter in wastewater is a substrate for the organisms in activated sludge. Suction head. The positive pressure in feet or meters of water or pounds per square inch of mercury or mercury vacuum on the suction side of a pump. The pressure can be measured from the center line of the pump up to the elevation of the hydraulic grade line on the suction side of the pump. Suction lift. The negative pressure on the suction side of a pump. The pressure can be measured from the center line of the pump down to the elevation of the hydraulic grade line on the suction side of the pump. Supernatant. Supernatant is liquid removed from settled sludge. Supernatant commonly refers to the liquid between the sludge on the bottom and the scum on the surface of an anaerobic digester. This liquid is usually returned to the effluent wet well or to the primary clarifier. Supernatant. Surface loading. One of the guidelines for the design of settling tanks and clarifiers in treatment plants, used by operators to determine if tanks and clarifiers are hydraulically over or underloaded. You can also compare this to an overflow rate, the definition overflow rate. And how to calculate surface loading is surface loading in gallons per day per square foot is equal to flow in gallons per day, divided by the surface area in square feet. And that will give you your surface loading. Surface active agent. The active agent in detergents that possess a high cleaning ability, and it's also called a surfactant. And then that's the next definition leading into that one. A surfactant is an abbreviation for a surface active agent. The active agent in detergents that possess a high cleaning ability. Suspended solids. Two things to note about that is the solids that either float on the surface or are suspended in water, wastewater, or other liquids, and that are largely removable by laboratory filtering. The quantity of material removed from water or wastewater in a laboratory test, as prescribed in the standard methods for the examination of water and wastewater, and referred to as total suspended solids dried at 103 to 105 degrees Celsius. And that would be the test in a muffle furnace that it burns off that dries that suspended solids on the micron filter, and you got to weigh it against the MLSS, and then you divide it by the MLVSS, I believe, and that gives you your weight of the suspended solids, so what's inert and what's not inert. But yeah, so that we have that. So now we're going to the T's, and TOC is total organic carbon. Total organic carbon measures the amount of organic carbon in water. TWA, time weighted average. It'll probably come up later. I'll probably have to say it again, but it's just giving like an abbreviation. So tertiary treatment. Tertiary treatment is any process of water renovation that upgrades treatment wastewater to meet specific reuse requirements. May include general cleanup of water or removal of specific parts of waste insufficiently removed by conventional treatment processes. Typical processes include chemical treatment and pressure filtration, also called advanced waste treatment. So when people are doing nitrogen and phosphorus removal, that can be considered as tertiary treatment, because it's not a basic, it's not your basic preliminary, primary, and secondary, and then disinfection, tertiary treatment is added into that. Thermophilic bacteria, a group of bacteria that grow and thrive in temperatures above 113 degrees Fahrenheit. The optimum temperature range for these bacteria in anaerobic decomposition is 120 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm sorry. The dogs, man, they just can't be quiet. Aerobic thermophilic bacteria thrive between 120 degrees Fahrenheit and 158 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what thermophilic bacteria, the range is for that. Thief hole, a digester sampling well that allows sampling of the digester contents without venting digester gas. As a thief hole. Threshold odor, the minimum odor of a gas or water sample that can just be detected after successive dilutions with odorless gas or water, also called odor threshold. Thrust block, a mass of concrete or similarly material appropriately placed around a pipe to prevent movement when the pipe is carrying water, usually placed at bends and valve structures, is a thrust block. Time lag, the time required for processes and control systems to respond to a signal or to reach a desired level, is a time lag. Time-weighted average, or TWA, as I said earlier, is the average concentration of a pollutant based on the times and levels of concentrations of the pollutant. The time-weighted average is equal to the sum of the portion of each time period multiplied by the pollutant concentration during the time period divided by the hours in the workday. Is the time-weighted average permissible exposure limit in parts per million for a normal 8-hour workday and a 40-hour work week, to which nearly all workers may be repeatedly exposed day after day without adverse effect. Time-weighted average. Titrate. To titrate a sample, a chemical solution of known strength is added drop by drop until a certain color change, precipitate, or pH change in the sample is observed, which is the end point. Titration is the process of adding the chemical reagent in small increments, 0.1 to 1.0 milliliter, until completion of the reaction as signaled by the endpoint. Total chlorine. The total concentration of chlorine in water, including the combined chlorine, such as inorganic and organic chloramines, and the free available chlorine. So, total chlorine is really combined. It's all the inorganic and organic chloramines. Before you hit demand, a chlorine demand, and then you'll have the residual. Total chlorine residual. The total amount of chlorine residual, including both free and chemically bound chlorine, present in a water sample after a given contact time. Total dynamic head, TDH. When a pump is lifting or pumping water, the vertical distance in feet or meters from the elevation of the energy grade line on the suction side of the pump to the elevation of the energy grade line on the discharge side of the pump. The total dynamic head is the static head plus the pipe friction losses. Totalizer. A device or meter that continuously measures and sums a process rate variable in cumulative fashion over a given time period. For example, total flows displayed in gallons per minute, million gallons a day, million gallons per day, cubic feet per second, or some other unit of volume per time period, also called an integrator. Toxic, a substance that is poisonous to a living organism. Toxic substances may be classified in terms of their physiological actions, such as irritants, asphyxiants, systemic poisons, anesthetics, and narcotics. Irritants are corrosive substances that attack the mucous membrane surfaces of the body. Asphyxiants interfere with breathing. Systemic, I keep saying systematic. Systemic poisons are hazardous substances that injure or destroy internal organs of the body. Anesthetics and narcotics are hazardous substances that depress the central nervous system and lead to unconsciousness. Toxic substance. And that will be, it says, to compare with harmful physical agent and toxic. Toxicity. The relative degree of being poisonous or toxic, a condition that may exist in waste and will inhibit or destroy the growth or function of certain organisms. Transpiration. The process by which water vapor is released to the atmosphere by living plants. This process is similar to people sweating. And then you can compare that with evapotranspiration if you look at that definition. Trickling filter. A treatment process in which wastewater trickling over media enables the formation of slimes or biomass, which contain organisms that feed upon and remove waste from the water being treated. Next is trickling filter media. Rocks or other durable materials that make up the body of the filter. Synthetic or manufactured media have also been used successfully. A trunk sewer. A trunk sewer is a sewer line that receives wastewater from many tributary branches and sewer lines and serves as an outlet for a large territory or is used to feed an intercepting sewer, also called a main sewer. Turbid, having a cloudy or muddy appearance. Turbidimeter. A turbidimeter is how it's an instrument for measuring and comparing the turbidity of liquids by passing light through them and determining how much light is reflected by the particles of the liquid. The normal measuring range is 0 to 100 and is expressed in nephelometric turbidity units or NTUs. That's what a turbidity meter reads. And then, like what we just said, turbidity units are the nephelometric turbidity units, and that's how it is read when you put a sample in a turbidimeter. Two-stage filters. Two filters are used. Effluent from the first filter goes to the second filter, either directly or after passing through a clarifier. Ultrafiltration, a pressure-driven membrane filtration process that separates particles down to approximately 0.01 diameter from effluent water using a sieving or sieving process. Ultraviolet, UV, pertaining to a band of electromagnetic radiation just beyond the visible light spectrum. Ultraviolet radiation is used in wastewater treatment to disinfect the wastewater. When ultraviolet radiation is absorbed by the cells of microorganisms, it damages the genetic material in such a way that the organisms are no longer able to grow or reproduce, thus ultimately killing them. So a lot of people, a lot of systems nowadays, they're moving away from chlorination and they're moving towards UV, which UV is good for killing and inactivating the microorganisms, but the downside of UV is that you have no residual going out in the system. So after the microorganisms die and the effluent leaves the effluent channel into the receiver stream, there's really no disinfection or no. Well, I just lost my train of thought. It has no contact afterwards. No residual, chlorine residual, and so UV doesn't use chlorine. It doesn't have a residual. So that's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, let's keep driving on. Upper explosive limit, or UEL, the point at which, due to the insufficient oxygen present, the concentration of gas in air becomes too great to allow an explosion upon ignition. Upper explosive limit. An upset digester. That is, an upset digester does not compose organic matter properly. The digester is characterized by low gas production, high volatile acid and alkalinity relationship, and poor liquid-solid separation. A digester in an upset condition is sometimes called a sour or a stuck digester, and I did say that one earlier. But yes, if a digester is upset, it can be called stuck or sour, and these are the descriptions that give what makes up a stuck digester or upset digester. Velocity head. The energy in flowing water as determined by a vertical height in feet or meters equal to the square of the velocity of flowing water divided by twice the acceleration due to the gravity, v to the second power then per 2g. Viscosity. A property of water or any other fluid that resists efforts to change in its shape or flow. Syrup is more viscous, has a higher viscosity than water. The viscosity of water increases significantly as temperature decreases. Motor oil is rated by how thick or viscous it is. 20 weight oil is considered relatively thin, while 50 weight oil is relatively thick or viscous. Volatile. Two things to note about volatile. A volatile substance is one that is capable of being evaporated or changed to a vapor at relatively low temperatures. Volatile substances can be partially removed from water or wastewater by the air stripping process. And in terms of solids analysis, volatile refers to the materials lost, including most organic matter, upon ignition in a muffled furnace for 60 minutes at 550 degrees Celsius. Natural volatile materials are chemical substances used of animal or plant origin. Manufactured or synthetic volatile materials such as plastics, ether, acetone, and carbon tetrachloride are highly volatile and not of plant or animal origin. So when they're saying volatile, you got to think it's organic off the top. It's organic. So mixed liquor volatile suspended solids, that is the organic matter that is in the total suspended solids. Volatile acids. Fatty acids produced during digestion that are soluble in water and can be steam distilled, not stem, steam distilled at atmospheric pressure, also called organic acids. Volatile acids are commonly reported as equivalent to acetic acid or acetic acid. I said acetic acid. Volatile liquids, liquids that easily vaporize or evaporate at room temperature. Volatile solids, those solids in water or wastewater or other liquids that are lost on ignition of the dry solids at 550 degrees Celsius, also called organic solids or volatile matter. Volumetric, a measurement based on the volume of some factor. Volumetric titration is a means of measuring unknown concentrations of water quality indicators in a sample by determining the volume of titrant or liquid reagent needed to complete particular reactions. Volute, the spiral-shaped casing that surrounds a pump, blower, or turbine impeller and collects the liquid or gas discharged by the impeller. That's in a pump, or volute. So now we're in the W's. We're almost to the finish line. Warning. The word warning is used to indicate a hazard level between caution and danger. Wastewater. A community's used water and water-carried solids, including used water from industrial processes that flow to a treatment plant. Stormwater, surface water, and groundwater infiltration also may be included in the wastewater that enters a wastewater treatment plant. The term sewage usually refers to household waste, but this word is being replaced by the term wastewater. Water cycle. The process of evaporation of water into the air and its return to the earth by precipitation, or that's rain and snow. This process also includes transpiration from plants, groundwater movement, and runoff into rivers, streams, and the ocean. Also called the hydrologic cycle. That's a very tough one. But we'll go to this next word, and that's called water hammer. And that the water hammer, the sound like someone hammering on a pipe that occurs when a valve is open or closed very rapidly. When a valve position is changed quickly, the water pressure in a pipe will increase and decrease back and forth very quickly. This rise and the fall in pressures can cause serious damage to the system. So whenever you shut off a pump in a wrong fashion, or you close a valve or open it too quickly, it can cause water hammer, and it can cause a lot of problems in your system. You definitely want to have the proper technique and practices in shutting off pumps and turning off valves and other things like that, because you don't want to mess up things in the system. Weir. A wall or plate placed in an open channel and used to measure the flow of water. The depth of the flow over the weir can be used to calculate the flow rate, or a chart or conversion table may be used to convert the depth to flow. It says also look at proportional weir as a contrast. A wall or obstruction used to control flow. That's what a weir is. To ensure a uniform flow rate and avoid short-circuiting. Weir diameter. Many circular clarifiers have a circular weir within the outlet or the outside edge of the clarifier. All the water leaving the clarifier flows over this weir. The diameter of the weir is the length of a line from one edge of a weir to the opposite edge, passing through the center of the circle formed by the weir. Wet oxidation, a method of treating or conditioning sludge before the water is removed. Compressed air is blown into the liquid sludge. The air in the sludge mixture is fed into a pressure vessel where the organic material is stabilized. The stabilized organic material and inert or the inorganic solids are then separated from the pressure vessel effluent by dewatering in lagoons or by mechanical means. A wet well is a compartment or a tank in which wastewater is collected. The suction of a pump may be connected to the wet well, or a submersible pump may be located in the wet well. Growth rate. Growth rate is an experimentally determined constant to estimate the unit growth rate of bacteria while degrading organic waste. And then finally, we're to the Z's. Zoogliofilm, a complex population of organisms that form a slime growth on the trickling filter media and break down the organic matter in wastewater. These slimes consist of living organisms feeding on the waste in wastewater, dead organisms, silt, and other debris. Slime growth is more of a common term. So when somebody says zoogliofilm, it's really a slime growth, but that's what it is on a trickling filter. And the last but not least is zoogliomass. It's a jelly-like mass of bacteria found in both the trickling filter and the activated sludge process. These masses may be formed for or function as a protection against predators and for storage of food supplies. And this can be contrasted or compared to a biomass. And that, my friends, everybody, that is the end of wastewater terminology from A to Z. I finally got there. Just want to let you know I'm going to be doing a whole lot more shows and episodes to help you study and to get there, so that if you are studying at least for your class 1, you could be well prepared to take that exam. Obviously I'm trying to gear it towards Indiana, but if you're in another state and you just want to study, wastewater and stuff, this will help you too. So I hope this will continue to help you to drive on. Everybody, thank you, and I'll be putting out more of these, and keep on studying hard. Have a great evening.